the gun here.
Yeah, okay. Now you're good.
All right. My name is Andrea Thompson. I'm a financial representative with Modern Woodmen. I work with Kyle. He's my managing partner here. Modern Woodmen's a fraternal company, so we are member owned and we've been around since 1883. I'm a representative down in the Fond du Lac over to the Sheboygan County area. So I mainly handle Fond du Lac County and the Sheboygan Plymouth area. So I'll give it over to Kyle now.
Okay. Yep. So my name's Kyle. I'm a manager with Modern Woodmen, as Andrea said. I've been with us for about 5 years now, which, Joanne, compared to Dave Parker, is about a cup of coffee compared to how long he's been with us. So a little bit about me and my awareness of ALS and kind of how I got associated with the ALS Association. My first time really becoming aware of ALS was when actually a client of ours that I had got in touch with from the Sheboygan area. I met him and his wife. He had been longtime policyholders with us, and his wife had ALS, and I believe he might have actually been using you guys for support. Can't really remember. I do remember he had come up to Oshkosh a couple of times for some sort of support group, so that might have been ALS Association. Wasn't sure. But I met somebody, Allison, I think it might have even been you at a business expo in Oshkosh. And
Possibly.
yeah,
Possibly. I did last year. I was down there.
yep. And that's how I got in touch with Cheryl, and we decided to do a matching fund for your ALS walk at the Timber Rattler Stadium. That's kind of how one of the ways that we give back to the communities that we work, live, and play in is that we do matching funds for nonprofits, other organizations such as volunteer fire departments and stuff like that. And I'm glad to be able to provide value to this organization. So the topic today is going to be estate planning. Before that, though, I kind of want to just give you a little brief introduction to Modern Woodmen and kind of all the stuff that we do. So if this is a little bit hard to read, I apologize. But we originally started in 1883, so we actually just had our 140th birthday about a week ago. So we've been around a long time. We help people in 7 key areas of financial planning, which I'll kind of go over in a bit. What makes us different from a lot of companies is that we're what's called a fraternal. That means that we exist solely for the benefit of our members. It's very similar to a credit union. We are not stock held, and our profits have to go back to the community. So that's where the matching funds and service projects and stuff like that come into play. Let's see here. Down here is just kind of a list of our member benefits. So anybody that owns a Modern Woodman product has access to these benefits. They're for all ages. We give out about $450,000 worth of scholarships each year. We have national parks passes and stuff like that. That's another way that we just give back to our members in their communities. All right. So I'm gonna have to share this. Sorry guys, I did not go to school for IT. I'm doing my best, I promise. Okay, so this presentation is on estate planning. Let's see, can you guys see all that? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so it's kind of a common misconception about estate planning that's kind of for wealthy people. It's really not the case anymore. So there are a lot of considerations. Who receives the estate? What kind of assets should they receive? When should they receive it? And how should they receive it? So these are the types of individuals that need an estate plan. You want to make sure your wishes are honored. That means you might have to do like a will or trust or something like that. I have a story, one of my uncles, he had passed away and he didn't have an IRA. He had an IRA, but he didn't have a beneficiary listed. So that caused a lot of problems. So a lot of forward planning, and it can be very simple stuff, guys. Forward planning can make a huge difference and to make things easier. If you provide for any dependent children, any aging parents, or anybody with special needs. If you want to prepare for potential incapacity or long-term care needs, these are all very important things in the estate planning process. If you've been through a divorce or something like that, that has an impact on assets. You want to control an inheritance, or you own a business or farm. Depends on what you're going to do with that. Are you going to liquidate? Is there going to be a succession? That sort of thing. All these are considerations for estate planning. And of course, if you want to leave a legacy. So I'm just going to go over a couple basic estate planning tools. Their goals are just basically help you plan for the preservation and distribution of your assets at your death. So probably the most simple thing to do right away is to review your wills and your beneficiary designation. So I always tell people if you don't have a will, the state of Wisconsin has one for you. They'll decide where your assets go after you're away, and unfortunately you can't come back and complain about it. So having a will is a very, very important thing to have. It can go over all these different things. As far as beneficiary designations, these are specific assets that pass by beneficiary, which means that they don't have to go through probate, which can be very helpful. These are things such as life insurance, any sort of retirement plan like a 401k or an IRA, and annuities. So there are also power of attorneys too, financial, medical, and this is here to decide who do you want to make decisions for you when you need help. So trusts are another thing. So trusts and wills are a little bit different. A lot of what they do are the same thing, but basically how a trust differs from a will is that assets distributed in a trust does not go through probate. So it gives you an extra layer of protection from predators and creditors. And it's also, however, whatever assets are inside of a trust are distributed how the trust is set up. So if you need to provide for minor children, surviving spouse, or someone who maybe can't control their money, has maybe an issue of substance abuse or some sort of marriage or legal issue, somebody who has special needs while maintaining their access to other benefits, such as state or government benefits. Trust can also be very helpful with tax planning and minimizing the costs and delays of probates. Depending on what kind of trust, if you have assets in an irrevocable trust, for example, and they've been in that trust for more than 5 years, they're actually protected from long-term care facilities too, which can affect a lot of people's being able to apply for Medicaid. So trusts can be very helpful tools to have. Another big part about planning for your estate planning is charitable gifts. So maybe you want to have your assets, some of your assets distributed to a church, school, or any other 501c3 qualified organization. Life insurance can play a big part in somebody's estate. Life insurance death benefits are liquid and they're income tax free. So it's the most tax efficient way, in my opinion, to transfer wealth. Since it goes by beneficiary, it does avoid probate as well. There are guarantees. Death benefits going to be guaranteed. They also have some living benefits such as access to cash values and stuff like that while you are still alive. So it can also provide money when it's needed the most. You can help it to create a college fund, You can use it for it to provide an income for a surviving spouse and a dependent. You can leave a legacy or a charitable gift, even out inheritances. For example, if you owned a farm and had multiple kids, one wants to go into the family business, the other one doesn't, that life insurance can help even out inheritances in that regard. And it can be used to pay for transfers of business as well. So wealth transfer has a lot of costs. So when people hear the term final expenses, they typically think funeral. The reality of the situation is these are all final expenses, medical expenses, funeral costs, obviously, but also any sort of debt obligations, any sort of legal fees and stuff like that. These are all final expenses. And of course, taxes. There are only two things guaranteed in life. Those are death and taxes. So they're income taxes for your estates, depending on what sort of assets are being distributed. Like, for example, if you have a 401k that gets inherited, all that is taxable as ordinary income. Income taxes for heirs, estate taxes, that's a little bit more for individuals with more assets. Gift taxes and inheritance taxes as well. So taxes play a big role in determining how you want to set up your estate. So a lot of people ask, am I going to have an estate tax problem? And frankly, for most people, the answer is going to be no. So this is just the 2023 tax year. This is a gift tax exclusion. That's $17,000 per year. That is up $1,000 from last year, which was $16,000. So individual can gift $17,000 per year to an individual without it being counted towards this exclusion amount right here. So this is somebody's total estate right here, combined estate, and any applicable gift tax exclusion amount. For a single person, it's just a hair under 13 million, and for married couples, it's almost 26. So most people aren't necessarily going to have an estate tax problem per se, but if you do, it can be a lot of money. The maximum estate tax rate's 40%, and that's not counting if it's whatever asset's going to be taxable as ordinary income, capital gains, anything like that. So that's kind of a consideration too. So what is considered in your estate? So all these count as your estate. Doesn't matter if it's liquid or illiquid. So cash, bank accounts, CDs, anything that's held in a bank, any sort of real estate you have, whether that's primary property or not, any retirement plan assets, business interests as well, annuities, insurance, automobiles, jewelry, and any other property basically. So this is just kind of an example of somebody who would have an estate tax problem. So his total estate is $14 million. Taxable estate is $1 million, so that can come up to be a lot of money. So if you do have an estate tax problem, your estate will need to pay in cash or within 9 months of your death. And one thing to ask yourself is, where will the money come from? And most people are saying, yeah, but I don't have an estate tax problem. I don't have that many assets. In the past, that number has been a lot lower, and there's been talks in Congress the last couple of years as to lowering it back to what the original amount was, which was like $1 million. So that could affect a lot more people in the future. So that's just something to be aware of. Even if it doesn't affect you now necessarily, it could affect you in the future. So proper planning, you can provide for the needs of the people you care about. Make sure you have liquidity, any sort of cash needs you need to pay for any sort of final expenses or estate taxes. So the goal is to really minimize your taxes and expenses, establish an orderly transfer of assets, and to avoid any sort of family conflict. You want to achieve peace of mind and protect what you have worked so hard to accumulate. So this is just a little bit about, we do have a Modern Woodmen member benefit called Final Wishes. can go over these sorts of things. These are a couple of the benefits, so you can learn more about these at our website. But this one thing this can help you do is just help you create like a simple will, and it provides other resources too for somebody who maybe recently lost a loved one. This can help people make financial decisions. Like I said, it's always good to be proactive versus reactive, but I've seen a lot of situations where myself where not all the bases were necessarily covered. So that's a very cool thing that we offer as well. So kind of the next step is to just sort of understand your needs. If you want to set up a one-on-one with me or Andrea, we can have a conversation there. Allison, with your permission, I can send an email out to everybody with my contact information and whatnot. I do conversations over Zoom. I go to clients' houses as well. I understand you're kind of all spread out, so not everybody's in the Appleton, Oshkosh area, such as myself. And we can just kind of calculate if you have any sort of estate planning considerations that should be addressed. So that was the estate planning presentation. Now I'm going to go over, let's see, a little bit more about what we do on top of just estate planning. Allison, can you guys see all that?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, 2 for 2 here. So estate planning is just one of the 7 key areas we help people with. And I'm just going to briefly go over all 7 of these. So a lot of people need to ask themselves the question, what does financial security mean to you? It usually falls into one of these 3 categories right here, or a mix of all of them. So it's providing for your family today, paying your bills, but also building financial security for the future. So our vision of financial planning is defining a person's financial goals no matter where they are in life, assessing their situation and creating a plan that works for them and adjusting it as time is needed, because our goal is to make your financial plan as unique as you are. So the first key area we talk about is protection, because without protection, kind of all of these can go out of the window pretty quick. So that includes life insurance, any sort of disability insurance, and long-term care insurance. Takes $284,000 to raise a child from 0 to 18. Allison, I didn't know you were expecting, so I'm sorry if I depressed you with that right there. But
Does it double if you have twins?
yeah, I guess it does.
We might have to have our own conversation, Kyle.
Yeah, and that's fine. You have my contact information. Same thing with everybody else. If there's any one area here that you're thinking, I've never really thought of this, or maybe you have a financial advisor but want a second opinion, like I said, I'll be giving you my contact information.
Yep, I do a follow-up email, Kyle, after the support groups. So I'll make sure to include your contact in that, so everyone will get it, whether they were here or not.
Excellent. All right, so the second key area is savings. We help people create what I like to call a spending plan. I don't like to call it a budget, because for a lot of people, budget is sort of a 4-letter word, even though there aren't 4 letters in it. But we need to make sure where your money's coming from and where is it going to? Are you saving more than you make or less? So the key to success is to pay yourself first. Kind of a rule of thumb is that 10% of your income should be saved. We also help people with retirement planning and retirement distribution. My boss, when I first came here, said that this slide right here looks like a Cialis commercial, and now I just can't unsee it. So there's a lot of considerations when dealing with retirement planning. I know this can be kind of hard to read, but one thing that kind of strikes here is when it says what makes retirement challenging, where we're at right now, the trust fund for Social Security is set to exhaust funds by 2033. So that's 10 years down the road. very few companies have a pension plan. At least private companies, less than 3% of private companies have pension plan. And I'm sure a lot of people are seeing this too. Healthcare costs are going up and they're probably not going to go down anytime soon. So like I said, it's always better to be proactive than reactive. One of the retirement distribution is the next step. So one of the things that we talk about that we really strive in is retirement distribution. So I think a lot of financial advisors, wealth managers are great when it comes to accumulating assets, but kind of fall short when it comes to, okay, how are we going to distribute it? How am I going to make sure that my income lasts as long as I do? Especially individuals that have long-term care considerations. I've seen a lot of retirement plans kind of go out the window because of the great cost of long-term care. So our method of retirement distribution is to make sure you have a check for as long as you're alive, and make sure that anything that you are going to give away to your beneficiaries is something that makes sense from a tax perspective and is logical if you want to give money to a charity. So there's very different ways to give money to, like, let's say an adult child versus a charity. Different assets work for different, wherever the money's going to go. So estate planning, I talked about this one already. Wills trusts, life insurance, and charitable giving. We also help small businesses, whether that be business continuation, succession plans, business liquidation, anything like that. And we also help people with mostly small employers with employee benefits, helping them attract, retain, and reward their employees. So that's what we do in a nutshell. I said it'd be a half hour. I think I just made it. So with that being said, I'd like to open up to anybody who has any sort of questions about one or more of those specific topics.
Thank you for doing a great presentation. I appreciate it. So do you help people